Welcome to Wisconsin Shoe Guy. Here we do unboxing videos, we discuss general shoe knowledge, we do worth the price videos as shoe reviews, and we will do shoe battles, comparing shoe to shoe so that you can understand the differences. I also speak to experts in the field. So let's take a little look at shoes worn over the past period. We start off with these Hephaestus hand-welted split toes, followed by my Palo Scaphora wingtip Oxfords in suede. Then my Meermin cognac shell cordovan long wings, my October 10th combination of suede and beautiful French calf, my Meermin hand-welted hole cuts, my TLB custom split toes, my Carlos Santos split toes, and then my finally my Hephaestus reverse Adelaide. So I wanted to do something special, so I started a hole cut week, and really I started off with these beautiful Enzo Benafe hand patinaed shoes, followed by this Kingsman by George Cleverly Merlin. Then my Meermin hand welted hole cuts again in Natra Calf, my Yosol St. Martin by Mecariello, my Loake Parliament, which are my wife's favorite shoes, my Michael Darren hole cuts here, which are Blake stitched, and in this short section, we're going to do some things that didn't warrant a whole video.
One of the viewers who does some comments on this channel asked me a question the other day about what is the difference between a derby and a blucher. So I wanted to kind of attack this one head on and just kind of give everybody a sense for what the difference is. This is a blucher, and what's interesting about this is you can see this piece of leather with the facing on it and the laces was actually sewn on, right? And it's not attached to the sole or the heel, right? That is the overall rule. So here we have a typical derby, and you see the facing, even though it has stitches there, is actually attached to the sole and ultimately the heel, right? So that is the difference between a blucher and a derby. So in this short description, we're going to actually take a look at a couple different shoes that are all plain toe shoes. So the first one we're going to look at is the plain toe boot, also called a jumper boot. This is a plain toe derby, and it is a derby, you know, as we talked about before, because of the heel part touching the facings, okay, and this as being one piece. But it's plain toe because there's no adornment on the toe at all. And the boot is the least formal of these. There we go. Now the next one is a chukka boot, also a derby. And this one is also a plain toe, as you can see. Now this one is in a Utah calf, so a little bit different versus the Chrome XL. And then we get into a smooth calf, and this is what we call a PTB, a plain toe blucher. And you can see this is actually sewn on. We'll get real close. You can see this is actually a sewn on piece, but it's not sewn on top, it's just sewn together. And that is a plain toe blucher, PTB, also called a plain toe derby, but this is a hole cut derby. So it's made of one piece of leather except for the bluchers, which go to the top. Now, then you have your 2-eye, your 3-eye, your 2-eye, and your 1-eye derbies. This is a 2-eye derby, meaning that it has 2 eyelets, 1, 2. And this is the, as derbies go, these are a little bit more formal because the less eyelets they have, the more formal they are. Really, the bigger the vamp and the slicker the last, the more formal they are. And this is a pretty slick last. This is actually a John Lobb, and a little bit asymmetric, but really very slick last. So nice shoe there. And then last, we have your hole cut Oxford, which is where it is one piece of leather all the way around. And it's an Oxford with that closed facing completely. So that is a very quick description of your plain toes. Now they do make a plain toe Oxford as well. I just don't have any in my collection.
So a lot of people ask me what I mean by asymmetric, and what I mean is how these particular shoes have a lower top line on the outside than they do on the inside. So something to keep in mind as you're looking at high-end shoes. There's no particular trick to shoe storage. My organization changes in every rotation, but I wanted to give a quick glimpse in how these things are all put together.
Welcome back. Today we're going to do a quick update on these two shoes. We're going to start with so next on deck is the other one that we started with here, and that is the beautiful Meslin Cortana. Now, this is one of the rare shoes that I actually tried on in store. Back in the days when Meslin had stores, I was actually at a casino in Las Vegas where they did have a store. And, you know, I was able to try these on. I really like them. This is part of their Goodyear welted. You can see their stitch density on the sole is not very good, but their details on the sole are very nice. You can see this has had some wear, and you know, overall a pretty nicely executed shoe. Given the price point, I do think it's probably you know, these were about $490, and I think that they should have been about half that, based on the value, the quality of the leather, the quality of the lining, and the overall construction. So may not buy another pair from them, but it is a nice shoe nonetheless. So that is my update on the Meslin Cortana. This shoe, which I purchased in 2020, this is the October 10th OT15. I chose to get this in cognac, and October 10th burnished it quite dark, and I was able to take the burnishing down a couple notches, but it's still quite a contrast there, probably more contrast than I like. And so I've been working on kind of lowering that a little bit. And actually, I think the next step for me is to try to take a little bit of Reno matte to it and see whether or not I can do a better job removing that varnish. But the shoes themselves, you know, the stitch density is very nice, both on the sole and on the upper. You know, for the shoes, I've had them about a year. You can see that they've got some wear on them, but I have not worn them a lot, simply because of the pandemic and the size of my rotation. So they're, you know, they're in pretty good shape. I think I may do some work on these to change the color a little bit, just because I think that this particular color of cognac is not necessarily as flexible as I like. As I look at the thickness going down to the thinner parts of the sole here, that they did a real nice job with that. Fiddleback waist on this is very, very sharp. This is a tapered heel, which I don't usually go for. This was the first one I did, and I do like the way it came out. You can see they're very, very thin heels that they use and they stack up. So overall, October 10th, I've been very impressed with. I feel like the overall design of the shoe, as well as the execution, is quite good. The sizing is, for me, I wish I went a half size down, and for future pairs I will. But I do feel like it is a pretty good thing. I am a little concerned because they have, you can see there's a ridge there on the Triumph tip, which there shouldn't be. But that's just, you know, a lot of shoemakers are not necessarily as good at that as you'd like. So that is my update on the October 10th OT15.
So take a look at the pipeline as it's changed lately. So I've made a couple of key acquisitions this week. Foster & Sons had a huge sale, and I picked up a pair of hole cuts and a pair of split toes, as well as a pair of split toes from the Armory, which are designed by Yohei Fukuda. So real excited about some of these things. These, the single eyelet derbies, the Meermin in Horween, the Enzo Benafes, all of these I'm super excited about coming soon. So as we look at what's coming next, I still have two shoes that I'm looking at for this quarter. I have the Yearn split toe, and then I have the Adelaide by Francis Wablinger. And then for Q2, I've got a few on deck that I'm really looking at, especially these seamless hole cuts from St. Christmas.